Welcome back to another episode of The Art of War. Today I got a special guest who I consider a friend and a brother in the game, and I don't have a lot of friends in the game, so that's saying a lot. And like most fighters, this fighter has a background that should have broke him, but it didn't. And he's a former world champion, extremely talented fighter, and a guy that's willing to face anybody. And as good as he is as a fighter, I think he's an even better person. I want to welcome to the show today, Caleb Sweethands Plant. Thank you for stopping by, man.
Yes, sir.
Man, your name is ringing right now.
Yeah.
September, man, you came off a big win on the Canelo Berlanga undercard. You fought a guy named Trevor McCumby.
Mm-hmm.
When I seen his name and then I seen the mustache and I didn't even see him fight, I'm like, he's one of them dudes that's gonna make it rough.
Yeah.
Early on. So I'm just putting them pieces together and sure enough he did. He started out with a lot of roughhouse tactics in the fight and you could see, okay, how's this gonna go? And I could see you processing and thinking, and then at a certain point in the fight, after the flash knockdown, you made the adjustment. You've had time to think about it. So what's your thoughts on the fight?
Based off his appearance, you looked at him and thought, okay, this guy's gonna make it rough. And I feel like a lot of people maybe looked at his appearance and underestimated him. But you know that in boxing, that's a foolish mistake and a mistake that, fighters have made time and time again and they paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's never, a mistake that I want to make. So we were taking him extremely serious. We knew he had a big record, 28-0, a lot of knockouts. So even though he hadn't been on that level before, we knew that he at least believed in his power. And so he was probably going to try to use that to his advantage. And first round, boxing him up just fine. Second round, he caught me with a good shot right at the bell, end of the round. And, after a couple of steps, felt like I had my legs fine. Brett asked me and my dad asked me, you good? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine, feel good. Went right back to work in the third round. And then in the fourth round, how you mentioned, a flash knockdown, he was kind of bull rushing me and wild, erratic. Sometimes he was running into me, knocking me over. I'm like, yo, this dude's a fullback.
Was he strong though?
Physically strong, yeah. He was strong. I've faced people who hit harder than him, but he's up there. Yeah, strong guy. And after that, I realized, instead of being on the end of the baseball bat, let's get up close and see what's going on. And so, beginning of the fourth round, I stepped to him. End of the fourth round, I stepped to him again, and I realized, like, man, it feels like a better place to be here. I came back to the corner. Brett and my dad were like, hey, you got to stay on the inside the rest of the fight. We need you to be a savage. I'm like, say no more. Like, that's kind of where my mind was already at. So from the fifth round on, just sticking to the inside. And it was nice because over the last 18 months between the David fight and the Trevor fight, I had really been working that heavily with my dad. And, Brett's in Philly. He travels out to Vegas a couple times. We'll go to Philly a couple times. And he'll give us homework. But it's my dad who's working a lot with me in between fights. It was nice that we had been working on that for so long and putting so much emphasis on that. And then for that to be wind up what I needed in the fight, the key to success. I would have still won, but who knows if I would have won at the level I did. So it was nice.
So did Brett call for that or did you make the adjustment and then Brett called for it?
I made the adjustment by stepping to him at the beginning of the fourth and the end of the fourth. But as soon as I came back and sat down, Brett told me, hey, and my dad, this is where we need to be. And so they seen it from the outside, but I had already made that adjustment. But it was a great call, them enforcing that and let me know, no, you're in the right place. That's exactly what you need to do. Because as you well know, it's a lot going on out there. It's loud, things are moving quickly. And so to get reinforcement from good teachers, like, hey, this is the move, it was good. It was the right call.
It's a simple adjustment, but it's something that I don't see 95% of fighters do.
Yeah.
I don't see fighters commit to a jab, which is simple, and I don't see fighters who know how to fight on the inside. Yeah. When you got inside against an aggressive guy, which seems like, an oxymoron, like you should stay away. It's like when you press a guy who likes to be the aggressor, it's a totally different fight.
Yeah.
Was it hard for you as a competitor fighting on Canelo's undercard, given the history and given the fight that y'all had?
I mean, there was, there's a small part of me as a competitor that thinks, me and Canelo fought. He beat me, I'm not facing him again. I'm fighting on, not the co-main, but the one right before. So, but you gotta focus on the things you can control. And that's about having a good attitude on the part of the show that I'm going to be on and controlling how the night turns out, which means putting on a show and still in the show. And that's something I feel like I did. So, you know, things like that do put a chip on my shoulder. I try to find motivation in a lot of places. And that was one of them. Like, okay, you know, sure, I would love a rematch with Canelo, but if this is where I got to be, I don't mind working back to a spot.
Yeah.
You know, I don't mind working hard for something. And I plan on, you know, still on the show, and I feel like I did that.
A lot of people said you did.
Yeah.
A lot of people said you did. I'm going to go ahead and get into this now.
All right.
And then we're going to pivot. But why does Caleb Plant find himself in verbal and physical altercations outside of the ring? Are you instigating any of it? Or is it people really just stepping in your personal space and violating your personal space?
I'm not going to say that I haven't ever probably started a fight before. But with all these incidents that have been as of recent over the last couple of years, like, I really just been minding my business. You know, every time it's been a situation where I'm out with my wife, and obviously as a man, you know, it'd be foolish of you to step out with your wife and start trouble.
Right.
You know, that's not wise thinking. And so I was raised better than that. So just minding my business and, you know, people invading my personal space. A couple of people I kindly asked to knock it off, and they didn't listen. And so things took a step further. And then, you know, sometimes what's done to you doesn't even justify you asking somebody to take a step back. It's just, you know, the green light right there. So it's been unfortunate, but, you know, like I keep saying it, you know, a man's got a right to defend himself. Yeah. And if you put himself in my personal space, then it's not your space.
But why do you think that keeps happening? The why, like your honest opinion. Because I understand if you get ready to face a guy, y'all feel away about each other. You're not even fighting some of these dudes. You just out.
I don't know. Maybe, you know, I've developed a good name throughout boxing, and, you know, maybe certain people feel like if they can piss me off and maybe get me amped up, and then I want to sign a fight with them and they can beat me and maybe they'll be in the position I'm in. I'm not really sure. Yeah. You know, I don't know if I can't really say. You know, I feel like that's a better question for those people, because it doesn't make sense to me why certain people would do the things that they've done as of recent. So I feel like that's a better question for them. But if I had to take a guess, you know, I feel like it would have something to do with that.
Well, I hope you stay out the way, and I hope people leave you alone, because it hasn't gone well for the other side these last few times. So let's just keep it in the ring and focus on that. I'll take it back to your childhood, bro. You've spoken a lot about this, openly about your childhood, man, growing up in a two-bedroom trailer in Ashland City, right? Mm-hmm. You know, it's a small town outside of Nashville, at a population of 5,000.
Now, when I was a kid, I'm sure it was even smaller.
Man, you know? You spoke about how you grew up extremely poor, you know, and your parents didn't have a crib and they had to put you in a dresser as a dresser drawer as a newborn. Take me back to your earliest memories of that period.
You know, like you said, about 30 minutes from downtown Nashville, way out in the country, and not a whole lot going on. Things move slow out there. And, you know, there's a lot of people who are in poverty where I'm from, you know, way out in the country, but a lot of the other kids, you know, didn't have the same clothes and shoes they had. And I kind of felt like I noticed that from an early age, and it bothered me. You know, I don't want to live like this. You know, as a kid, you wish you had everything that Johnny had down the street, and his life, his house, and blessing in disguise, I guess, you know, growing up like that. You know, at one point, my dad and my grandfather put together a little money for my dad to open up a little gym in Ashland City, where we're from. And I've told the story before, but it was all tile floor, no mats, and put tape on the floor in a square. And that's where we would spar, and we would stand around and hold hands so people wouldn't be busting through the walls, and people would be slipping on the tile floor or something and busting holes in the walls and stuff. And there was like one heavy bag in the corner that had to be so close to it, you couldn't even really work all the way around it. And we didn't have the fanciest stuff, the latest stuff, but, you know, it's when you want something bad enough, you know, you don't need all the latest gear. It's just you chasing your dream. So there wasn't like a boxing culture where I'm from. And I feel like that was a blessing and a curse as well too, because one, I didn't have all the sparring all the time that other people would have. So we'd have to go to downtown Nashville, over to East Nashville to get sparring, or travel for sparring, drive down to Atlanta, Alabama, stuff like that. And so that was a curse, but the blessing was almost like I didn't really get to rank myself in reality where I stood. It was just whatever I felt like in my head, and I felt like I was unbeatable, unstoppable. And so it's like I got to almost grow that delusionalness. It got to stay with me along the way. You know, my confidence was up because where I was from, you know, nobody was messing with me.
You know, sometimes when people grow up in extreme poverty, they say that I didn't really know I was poor because most of the people around me, they live in the same way. And it's not until you get out that bubble that you realize, wait a second.
Yeah.
Kids do got different shoes, different clothes. And man, his parents let them eat that. They going to a restaurant. So you did see other kids that had more stuff than you, even though you were in that small town?
Yeah, I noticed early on, and it bothered me. It bothered me big time. Like, it just infuriated me. Like, man, I don't want to live like this. And that's not to hate on where I'm from. I love, you know, slow country life. You know, I'm sure one day I'm going to have me a little farm somewhere, have some horses like you got, you know, some chickens and stuff. But at the time, being a kid, it's like maybe you want the things that you don't have. It just infuriated me. I'm like, man, I'm going to change this. I'm going to do something about it. Just with all the hecticness, you know, going home at home with my mom and my dad and arguing and fighting and, you know, I've spoke on it before and, you know, we spoke before cameras turned on and just, you know, her addictions and it was just, the gym was like a place where I could go and escape. You know, it's like when I'm at home, I'm going through things and things are going on in the household and yelling and breaking and it's like you just want to escape that. And when you're somebody that nobody really wants to be, you feel that. And then I got to go to the gym and I'd be there from like 3 o'clock to like sometimes 10:30 at night, Monday through Saturday. So I'm surpassing all my peers quickly.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I'm this person that other people want to be. People older than me want to be like me. Grown men are looking up to me like, man, look at this kid. And that almost became like an addiction for me. Like, I can't wait to go to the gym. It's like I get a high here and then I go home, it wears off. I go back to being somebody that people don't want to be. All this bullshit still, you know, going on. And it just became like a sanctuary for me that I would just run and escape from, really.
Man, I think that's the difference between a lot of youngsters these days, even just ones that are outside of boxing that play sports. I get on my young son all the time. They got so many distractions, like home is comfortable for a lot of them. So I don't have a hunger to go there or to put out or to run or to train or whatever because it's so comfortable and cushy here that, why? That's like,
ain't no need.
That feels like a bad thing now.
Yeah.
Instead of, like you said, you be in a position where it's like, man, I'm trying to get out of this and this is actually peace for me. Your mother, like my mother, struggled with alcoholism and addiction. And like, what was your earliest memories of her like leaving? Was she with you guys for a while before she left? Like in the trailer?
Yeah, my parents didn't split till like, I was a little older, maybe 16, 17. But, you know, the thing was my parents were separate, but they were living in the same house and different bedrooms. So I'm sure you can imagine at times that was, people didn't get along.
It's conflict.
You know, conflict in the house. And so yeah, she was around. And then after they split, I actually went and stayed with my mom for a while and wound up, you know, not really working out. I don't know, she just had just some demons that maybe too strong for her that she just couldn't beat, you know. It's something that she dealt with a lot of her life. And, you know, I remember as a kid, like one time I'm in the office on the computer and like I hear this loud bang in my parents' room or my mom's room. I run in there and she's like in the bathroom, done, you know, fell off in the bathroom and just having to help her up and just stories like, you know, coming out of the bathroom from like cleaning up, taking a shower, and there's like just a big puddle of piss on the floor, just from where she would get like so messed up, just couldn't even make it to the bathroom, you know, and then she's just sitting back down in a chair. I'm stepping out, like, you know, just a lot of different crazy stories like that, you know, you grow up seeing as a kid. And I can remember I was like 12 or 13 and my dad come to me, he was like worried. He's like, you know, something's going on with your mama and I don't know what it is, but she's scaring me and, you know, I'm not sure if she's gonna hurt y'all or not. And if she tries to do anything, I want you to I want you to go in my closet and grab my shotgun and tell her don't come in here.
Mm-hmm.
And if she does, then, you know, I want you to handle your business and do what you got to do. And I'm like 12, 13 years old, just looking at him like,
Man.
like in awe, like, you know, what's just in shock really. And so just plenty of old war stories like that.
Did you ever notice that she like came in and out of it? Like, oh, if she's like, was she ever sober enough for you to see a different side of her?
Here and there. Yeah, here and there. See, you know, my mom, she was a real sweet lady. You know, I'm not just going to sit on the show and tell nothing but bad stories about her, you know. You know, my mom, real sweet lady, give you the shirt off your back. You know, my #1 fan. She didn't really come to maybe like but one of my fights as an amateur.
Yeah.
And so, but I knew that she supported me. You know, I knew she was a big fan of me, loved me. And so, you know, I do have a lot of love for my mom and, you know, wish things could have worked out a different way. It's a lot of mixed emotions, really.
Yeah,
honestly, it's a lot going on. I'm sure, you know,
I get
you
it.
can
I get it, man.
relate.
It's amazing how I don't really know how to articulate how that affected me. Like I know, you know, like crying and being sad and stuff like that, but I don't know how that like at 40, I can't really explain how that shaped me. I just know that like it gave me something. It gave me a drive. It gave me something. I don't know exactly how to articulate it. You feel like even as painful as that stuff was, like that in a way that it worked for you? That may be a strange way to say it, but
Yeah, no, kind of how I was speaking earlier, you know, I feel like it was the perfect storm for me of not a whole lot going on where I lived. So I didn't have, because I probably would have wound up getting in trouble. And then, you know, the home life. Then I had my grandparents down the street, about a mile down the street. And my grandfather, he, at 8 years old, they brought him to a grocery store. And they said, we can't afford to take care of him. If you let him, he'll work for you at this grocery store if you let him live in the back of this grocery store for free. So at 8 years old, his parents left him. Man. He's living in the back of a grocery store at 8 years old, working for free. And grew up to own multiple grocery stores, own the post office, own hundreds and hundreds of acres, 500-600 acres. And sold a lot of that off and had a 200-acre farm down the street. And so, you know, that's what I grew up on, running around, fishing, shooting, and, you know, riding horses and stuff like that. And so I also had a place where I could go to away from home besides the boxing gym with my grandma and my granddaddy.
Okay.
Where it was like something out of a movie, you know, the love, the food, you know, my granddaddy, he's a cowboy and always a big boxing fan. And, you know, I can remember telling him like, man, granddaddy, one day I'm gonna be on TV like that. We used to watch the fights all the time. Like, that's gonna be me one day. I could beat him. I can beat him. Circling back, you know, just the perfect storm of strong men in my life around me, showing me firsthand what hard work looks like, what taking no shit looks like, who will stand on what they say, who would rather probably take their last breath and not live by the principles that they live by. And so just that perfect storm, I feel like helped mold me into who I am.
And you feel like when your father and your grandfather got the gym, you said that your dad didn't really have much direction, and boxing probably saved both of y'all.
Yeah, he opened the gym and decided he was going to stop drinking because he used to drink a lot, and, you know, he'd get a real bad temper and stuff like that. And one day he just woke up and said, I'm done with it. You know, I'm not, this ain't me. I'm not going to do this no more.
He said that to you?
He said that to himself.
Yeah.
But later on in life, he's told me that. But that's what he told himself. I'm done with this. I'm not going to do that. And so he opened up the gym, was there every night, whooping ass and whooping my ass. And yeah, he changed his life around. That gym gave him direction. And then that wound up not working out, that gym. So then we started going to a gym down in East Nashville. But by that point, we were on our mission. You know, we knew what we wanted. This is boxing, this is what we want. And so at that point, boxing gave him that direction to carry on.
And he was a kickboxer? And you started off kickboxing, right?
Yep. He started kickboxing. He was a kickboxer, and that's what I started off doing. He never turned pro, but he fought on ESPN twice, and he was a good
Pops
fighter.
had hands and feet?
Pops had hands and feet. He'll put them on you, too. And little boy wanted to be like his daddy, and, you know, he was a fighter. I want to be a fighter. And, you know, when you're raised by cowboys and fighters, you know, That's
You're
what
gonna
you
follow
get.
suit.
You're gonna follow suit.
Even though you got the struggles going on and you got the kickboxing and then the boxing, did you have any type of social life as a kid? Like you had kids around you that you ran with? Like, do you have any type of social life?
Not honestly, not too much. Like at school, I feel like in boxing, I'm kind of known as somebody who's maybe a little more forward at times.
Okay.
But you know, in most places, you know, I'm a lot more quiet and reserved, and so that was me in school as well. You know, so but yeah, I didn't have much of a social life, always being in the gym, and I played football when I was younger too, and so busy doing
Give
something.
me an example of what you mean forward.
I don't have much fear in biting my tongue if I feel like it's something needs to be said. Now, I also don't mind, you know, letting silence take over, and you know, if it don't need to be said, it don't need to be said. You know, once the bell rings, I feel like that's almost like a place where I can be free. You know, I can just let loose and really be myself. I feel like out in the real world, you know, a little more quiet, a little more reserved maybe. And but for some reason, boxing I feel like it gives me that superpower to take it up a level.
So you starting to build a reputation like locally as you start fighting as an amateur. You don't have a lot of competition in Ashland, right?
Yeah.
So how are you getting the work that you need? I know you said you went a little bit further out, but like, how are you getting the work you need to get ready for these national tournaments and these local tournaments?
Sparring the people in the town, going down to East Nashville, North Nashville, getting as much sparring as we could. And, you know, I feel like I had good teaching from my dad as well. So just wanting to fight.
And you did win a national, right?
Yeah, Golden Glove National Champion in 2011.
Yeah. What state was that in? That wasn't Vegas.
Indianapolis.
Indianapolis?
Yeah, it was in Indianapolis, 2011. And I remember fighting maybe in the quarterfinals, and Emmanuel Stewart seen me that night. He was there with Tony Harrison.
Mm-hmm.
And come up, was like, Tony wanted to introduce me because, you know, Tony's one of my brothers in boxing. And he was like, he seen me fight. He's like, man, you're a showman. You know, I like you. You're a showman, but I like you. And I always thought that was a great boxing memory for me, you know, getting to meet Emmanuel Stewart and him seeing me fight. And with that being 2011, you know, Olympic trial year, made the trials. Wound up losing to Dirrell Gachet, who became the Olympian.
Cleveland, right?
Yep. Went to London as an alternate and a training partner, sparring partner. It was a great experience.
Shortly before you turned pro, your daughter, Aaliyah,
Yeah.
you know, she was born in 2013 with a very rare medical condition that left her without her motor skills. And, you know, when did you realize after she was born that, man, something's not right? You know, it's some alarms going on.
Well, I was set to leave for the Golden Glove Nationals, I think, in Salt Lake City, I believe is where it was, like 2 days after.
Okay.
And a day or two after. And everything was on point, going good, just fine, come out just fine.
The test, everything
just good. And it's like, I believe she wasn't like crying. It's like she wasn't making noise when she was trying to cry. So they took her off and was going to do some tests and stuff. Mm-hmm. And everything seemed fine. I left to go to Salt Lake City. And then like not an hour before I fought, maybe a couple hours, not super long, I get a call. And that's when I get updated that all these things are wrong with Aaliyah and that she may not even be there by the time I get back.
Man.
And at that point, it just kind of took all the fight out of me. You know, my mind was on other things, you know, and I wound up losing that fight and went home. And, you know, kind of how to what you spoke on, you know, she had 150, 200 seizures like every day.
Man.
Brain damage and no motor skills. She couldn't sit up. She couldn't eat. She had to eat through a Mickey tube in her stomach. Ate medicines twice a day, like all these doctor's appointments. And she couldn't cry. She had a lot going on. And that was, you know.
But you said you sent her blood off, but there's like thousands of tests that they did and it all came back negative?
Yeah, and actually JP, Jordan, helped me pull her files from Vanderbilt and helped me flip through all her files to find out what was actually wrong with her. And JP, it was West. Yeah, I believe West syndrome is what it wound up being from the records. You know, nobody quote me, but from the records, it seemed like she had something called West syndrome. And, you know, JP helped me get all that done and figure that out.
Why didn't that show on any of the tests that you did?
That's above my pay grade.
Yeah?
Yeah. I stayed in the hospital the whole time with her. And on the little beds that pull out in the hospital rooms, and I'm in camp, and the doctors are coming in the room at night, and beeping's going off, and they're checking our stats, and having to wake up and go to train and come back to the hospital. I'd leave again for strength and conditioning, come back to the hospital, go home, get more clothes, come back to the hospital, go run downtown by Vanderbilt Children's Hospital, come back to the hospital, take my ice baths in the hospital, while all these other fighters are getting to put their best foot forward, I feel like they kind of put me behind in a way. Mm-hmm. But then at the same time, I realized, okay, I'm having to do all this, but I don't have the hardest test here. Aaliyah, who's just a baby, she's able to go through all this, then, I can control my attitude and make sure that I'm strong for my family and, try to put us on my back and put my best foot forward and take that mentality with me to training. Well, she can do that, you can do this. If she can go through this, you can do this last mile, you can push harder. So while I feel like it was putting me back in some ways, in other ways, it was really adding fuel to the fire.
Man, you turned pro in May of 2014, roughly a year after Aaliyah was born, and you're in the middle of this fight with your daughter. But how much of her diagnosis contributed to you turning pro at that time? Were you going to do that anyway? Or did that kind of push you to say, I need to make some money, I need to get some things shaking?
In 2011, after I won the Nationals, I'm like, I'm gonna stay amateur a little longer, try to win another national championship or two, and put myself in even better graces with maybe promoters or managers. And but then after I lost, I'm like, man, I'm turning pro, and it had to do with me wanting to turn pro at that time, and also, with the family to provide for. You gotta make something shake. You gotta make something happen, and so. A little bit of both. And actually, I'm not, I don't want to put anybody on blast, but I had a handful of people looking at me, wanting to sign me. After Aaliyah was born and, word got out that I have, my daughter with all these issues, nobody picked up the phone, nobody called me back, I was emailing people, nobody emailed me back. Nobody got back to
advisors.
Me. All of them.
Yeah.
And I had met with Luis DeCubas somewhere at the Olympic Training Center one of the years in Colorado Springs. And he's like, whenever you're ready to turn pro, we had a lunch with him, and we really liked his vibe, but I had lost his number. So nobody else is getting back to him. I'm like, man, where's that number? I need to turn pro.
Where that number at?
Yeah.
I need it.
I need that, Here Al's being kind to his fighters, I need to get on board. And I finally found that number. And as soon as I called Luis, picked right up, told him what I wanted to do, sent the contract right away. And that always meant a lot to me, because in a moment where I feel like everyone kind of abandoned me and jumped ship, didn't want nothing to do with me, it's like Al signed me right away. Yeah. And it felt good for him to, and Luis, to still believe in me. It's
a dope thing, man, to find a few good men in the game that support you, that rock with you from your origin, from the beginning, before you blew. You're battling with your daughter, man, and things are not getting better, right? And finally in 2015, man, the doctors induced her and put her in a coma. Yeah. Man, on January 29th, bro, you had to do what no father could even imagine that they would have to do. You had to make a decision about her life and if it was the right time to let her go. How did you come to that decision, and how did you cope with it?
Well, yeah, on January 29th, I was actually supposed to leave, I believe, the next day to go to Philly to fight. And obviously with everything going on, called Sylvia, called Al, and they had already been up to date on what was going on. And we canceled, me fighting, and, they're like, no, you don't need to go. This is different than other times, because Aaliyah had been induced into and put on life support 4 other times. This was her 5th time that she was in a coma on life support. And man, there's just nothing worse than seeing your baby, laid up in the bed. They got the EEG machine on them with all the wires stuck in her hair and wrapped up like a mummy, and the coma tube. Mm-hmm. They're like, this time is different, and you need to cancel that trip. I'm like, okay, say no more, obviously. And,
that's what the doctors are saying?
Yeah, that's what the doctors are saying, because I'm in this catch-22 of like, not a lot of money, I got to provide for my family. Neither there's parents who could help out with the bills. That's not really our situation. And they're like, no, this is different. I'm like, okay, we'll say no more. And people are coming in, you know, to say their goodbyes, and all of a sudden their stats start going down quickly. And they're like, look, you can, you know, you can leave all this stuff on her, and or we could take all this off of her, we could clean her up. And so
Wow.
I just didn't want her to, I didn't want that to be, you know, her last moments with all that stuff on her. She had to deal with all that medical stuff for so long, and such a big part of her life. And that's just not what either of us wanted for her. So got her cleaned up, and 10:55, January 29th, you know, that was her time. And just let her know, you know, I'm proud of you, and you know, I'm not mad at you, I'm not disappointed. Just have that conversation, you know, and I'm proud of you, and some other things. But
yeah, man, brother, I'm sorry you had to go through that, man. I can only imagine, you know, I can only imagine. But one thing you did was you promised your daughter that you would become world champion.
yeah.
As you signed with Al and Lewis, a lot of people don't have much interaction with Al, but like, what is it about Al that you appreciate, Al that you like? I mean, what is it about the Al Haymon effect for you?
You know, it's easy to talk about what people do for you. Easy to talk about the positions that they'll put you in as athletes, as entertainers, as you know, anybody in any form of industry like that. You know, a lot of promises get made.
Right.
I'm sure you're well aware. A lot of promises get made.
Most get broken.
Most get broken. All the promises that I've ever been told from Al have always been made to the T. And so that, and first and foremost, you know, it's easy to say that you'll be there for somebody, but when I was going through that, Al was calling me randomly, you know, checking in on me, checking in on Leah. One day I got a call from a random number. I was going to pay a bill, left the hospital, go pay a bill. I'm getting around, pick up, man, hello, who is this? He's like, hey, Caleb, this is Al. I'm like, oh, hey, Al, you know, I got to change my tone. I'm like, oh, hey, Al, how's it going? Just checking in on me. And, you know, when I first had her and people stopped getting a hold of me, getting back to me, never changed his feelings about wanting to sign me, and that meant a lot.
You've been with Al for a while. Like, what's the best piece of advice Al has given you?
The best piece of advice is take care of your body, because it's the only thing taking care of you. Yeah, I always remember that. Keep that in mind.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's time to relocate to Las Vegas. Was it hard to leave the confines of a small town to come way out to Las Vegas?
I just felt like so much had gone on in Tennessee, you know, with my mom, and how that chapter wound up closing, and with Aaliyah, and just a lot of other things too. You know, I was sleeping on I was over in West Nashville by the gym that I was training at, Music City Boxing, and staying with a friend over there, sleeping on a mattress on his guest bedroom floor. I'm not going out and partying or drinking or smoking or anything like that, but I'm not eating healthy because it's just me. You know, I'm not sleeping well because a lot of things are, you know, make it hard to close your eyes at night. And it was just getting rough on me, and I finally said, man, I got to make a change. And that's when I had met Jordan.
Okay.
And we were doing long distance for some time, and she come and see me when I was sleeping on that mattress on the floor. And, you know, even then, you know, it didn't really waver her feelings on how she felt about me. Or
That's right.
I just felt like it was time for a change. I needed something new. I needed a new slate. You know, I had weight on my shoulders I had to get off. And I felt like it was the best move for me. And it's turned out good. You
felt that burden lift though? Because you hear a lot of people that are from small towns, it's like the way they describe it is like, I got to get out. They feel like it's like everything's closing in on them because it's such a small place.
I'm not sure if growing pains had anything to do with it. Like I'm getting bigger. I have these big dreams, you know, small city, big dreams. I got to step out in a bigger, you know, somewhere well known. Or if it was what I felt like, it was more so just everything that was weighing on me with everything that had happened, and I just needed to get away and just needed new scenery, you know, and we were doing long distance for a while, and that can weigh on people too, you know, and just felt like I needed it. The worst thing that can happen is I can move back. You know, the Tennessee can always be a landing pad for me, you know, but what happens if I step out into the unknown? You know, who knows what's going to happen?
Your story is something that should be in a movie, bro. People got to see more people be able to make it out, right? Like, not just, oh, I grew up in the hood and I made it. I made a bunch of money, but like dealt with some real stuff. And people see you at where you are now, and they don't, people don't get it because they either don't invest the time to know the story, or they just don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I love this type of platform because, yeah, some heavy stuff, but it's like you overcame it though. You persevered through it, and that's what makes the man. So, man, it's a lot of heavy stuff, and we're gonna turn the corner in a second and talk about one more thing before we move on. But, bro, you've overcame a lot, man, and you should be proud of yourself, bro.
Thank you.
You should be proud of yourself.
Yeah.
In January 2019, you fulfilled the promise that you gave your baby daughter, Aaliyah, by becoming an IBF super middleweight world champion against, try to get this brother's name right, Jose.
Uskatagi.
Hard hitter, aggressive, long, rangy fighter.
Yeah.
Like, how did you overcome Jose?
You know, I did take offense to him saying, like, Caleb's just a regular opponent for me. I've seen him a million times, and he was already talking about who he was going to fight next and who he was going to face next, and that's just...
You weren't feeling that?
I wasn't feeling that. Yeah, I wasn't feeling that. I was an underdog. Like 5 weeks before the fight, I wound up breaking my hand in training. That pushed the fight back like 6 months. And so for that whole 6 months, like I didn't have the cast on the whole 6 months, but even with the cast on, I'm like doing, curls, hitting the double end back, doing everything I possibly could without just using my left hand. And I was just like a man on a mission. I had the IBF belt taped above my bed, and every night before I went to sleep, I would stare at it every morning when I woke up.
That's right.
First thing I would see.
That's right.
She was probably tired of seeing that thing.
That's right. Hey, it takes
she
that,
loved
though.
it, but
it takes that.
There was no way. I would have rathered taking my last breath. And to this day, maybe it's easy to say things have changed. The man I am now, I have children that I have to live for. But I know if it comes down to it and it's time to rock out, I know which way I'm gonna wind up choosing. But in 2019, I would have happily taken my last breath if it meant, whether it was that or not coming home with that world title. I was just tired of hearing people say I wasn't this, I wasn't that, white boy this, white boy that. Mm-hmm. And I just felt like it was time to show them. And the night before the fight, I didn't get any sleep at all. Yeah. Staring at the back of my eyelids for 8 hours, just just buzzing, just zooming. Yeah. And went into the ring at like 174 pounds. Didn't rehydrate, didn't get my weight back on me like I needed to. Just flat. It didn't matter. I was just...
Your mind was made up.
My mind was made up.
A made up mind, man, is a hard thing to break.
Yeah.
It's a lot of talking and people posturing, but like, you get a person that's like really made up their mind.
Like really, really made up.
It's hard to break that.
Indeed.
I don't care who they got on the other side of the ring. It's hard to break that.
Yeah. Conviction is a strong emotion.
Yeah. Nobody had ever made him look like that before.
You know how it is. The guy's a boogeyman. People don't want to face him. People don't want to fight him. You fight him, you beat him, and now all of a sudden he's a nobody. And we've actually had this conversation about Jose and how people felt about him before the fight and after the fight.
Versus after.
And then, you've told me some stories of people you fought, the conversations people had before and after the fight. So
what is that, though?
It's like if somebody else does it, they're a fan of it. But when you do it, for some reason, they gotta find a reason on why you were the one able to do it. I don't know why that is. I can't understand it. Otherwise we wouldn't be sitting in these seats.
Straight up.
But
they don't seem to keep the same energy though.
Yeah.
Like the energy is crazy. Oh, you're gonna lose. You're gonna get knocked out. You suck. You're crazy. You can't beat this guy.
Then you beat him.
And you beat him and you make it look a certain. It's not easy. You can make it look easy. And then, like you said, they instead of just saying, "Hey, I was wrong, bro. You got me." They don't do that.
They don't like that.
They don't do that.
That's a question for them too.
Yeah, they got to figure that out.
They definitely got to figure that out.
Because all you got to keep doing is just keep winning. I got to talk about this, man. And this seems like, especially early on, this is kind of how your life was. It's like you got these high moments and you got these low moments. And it's like, I see this pattern, So you go get that world title And then you get the call about your mother, who's still in Tennessee. I had never read that report, bro. And that was tough to read. It's almost like I could see my mother in that situation. Like that could have easily happened to her. My mother was on the streets for many, many years. And when you're dealing with drugs and alcohol and you're not always in your right mind, anything is possible. You on this high, bro, and then you get this call about your mother. How did you get word? When did you get word?
A couple weeks before, a month before, I actually went home to Tennessee after the fight. You know, bring the belt home. I got the key to the city. And at the courthouse, I got to see my mama and catch up with her, talk to her and stuff. And then, you know, I'm in Vegas and my buddies are staying at the house and he comes, he's like, Caleb, wake up. You got to get up. Your daddy's trying to call you. And I'm like, what? And so then, you know, I get on the phone with my daddy and, you know, he breaks the news to me and tells me and just kind of sat in silence for a little minute on the phone. And then just told him, you know, we hung up and just thinking on things for a little bit. It was just tough because, you know, you wish you could reconcile with certain people, you know, and maybe you ain't the best of friends. Maybe, you know, maybe you don't go on to have the closest relationship, but at least you just smooth things out from whatever has happened and able to just move forward with somewhat of a clean slate. And so, you know, just not getting to do that in certain scenarios in life can be frustrating. Like, man, I wish we would have got that chance, you know, that moment.
Yeah.
So that was difficult, you know, not because we were the closest and she never made a mistake and my mom was, you know, and just sometimes you just wish things worked out differently, you know.
I think my family, they look at me, I think I've gotten better, but like they looked at me, especially as a kid, like I always kind of had a soft spot for my mom. Because I had my dad, but the female presence was the only thing I was missing. So it's like when she was around, she could do no wrong.
Yeah.
And I get older and I'm like, okay, my mom ain't perfect. She got stuff, but I still kind of always had a sweet spot for my mom. Did you have that for your mother, or were you more hard on your mom? Like, man, you gotta get your stuff together.
I'm a daddy's boy. You know, first and foremost, like when I was real little, me and my mom were closer because my dad just had a temper and drinking, and it's like I was scared of him. And but then as I started to get just a little bit older from being a little kid, that's when, you know, my mom started to veer left and basically being like in my daddy's back pocket, my granddaddy's back pocket since I was like a kid. You know, first when people ain't your loved ones, you may try to talk to them about it. You may try to plead with them about it. Then you yell at them about it. You scream at them about it. You know, you try every different way to try and get them to see that what they're doing is just not going to work for them.
Yeah.
Especially when it's your mom and your daddy. You know, it's an extra level of emotion there. Probably an extra level of frustration. You want to be like more important to them than their addictions are to them. And when things don't seem to be going that way, you know, that can be upsetting as a person on the other side of that.
Of course.
And, you know, as you get a little older, you start to maybe understand that addiction is not that simple and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you know, there's that little kid, and, you know, even at your age, no matter what age you are, you know, just wishing like, I wish I could have been chosen, you know, over those things. But that's, you know, we don't always get what we want, you know, so you just gotta keep pushing forward.
You've had a lot of high moments in your life and you still have them. But these low moments that we talked about, like, how have you dealt with them, working through them, talking through them?
Just go to the gym. Just stay in the gym, no matter what.
You're gonna fight your way out of it. Yeah.
No matter what, just stay in the gym. That would be my word of advice to any fighter out there. No matter what happens, just go to the gym. Stay in the gym. It's not like I want to come off like a control freak, but it's like you can't really control the things that go on out there. You know, you don't have a whole lot of say-so, but you got say-so in that gym. You have control in there. You can change your life in there. You know, you can change your family's life. You can change your children's life. If you have things going on in your life and you say, you know what, it's too much. I ain't gonna go to the gym. then that's probably all your life will ever be. It'll never be no better than that. But if you stick with it, if you stay in that gym, no matter what happens, rain, sleet, or snow, you get your ass in that gym, good things will happen.
I think that's one of the hard things in like retirement. I had to deal with certain things, anxieties, and because I'm a thinker, and I got to be careful too, like to not let my mind get the best of me, because my mind has been a great asset for me, but my mind it's not always a good place to be. And I've learned through my faith to like, give God those things and like allow my faith to override my mind. But in retirement, it's like I don't have that 2-3 hours a day. Like I used to be able to, like I'd be taking a call, like, damn, I gotta deal with this. Hang up the phone and go disappear for 3 hours, 2.5 hours. Beat on the bag, fight somebody, sweat. You know what I'm saying? Like, do what I do. And I leave out of there, it's almost like I'm too tired of like, I don't have that angst that I had coming into the gym. You don't really have that in retirement. You got to figure it out, but it's not the same. That's one of the hardest things in retirement, because I can go lift weights. I can go do some civilian stuff. I can do Stairmaster for 20, 30 minutes. It ain't the same, bro. Yeah. So that's one of the adjustments, man, that like I've had to learn. I had to find my outlets a different type of way.
Yeah, because, you're saying you're a thinker, and that's a big asset for you. And, one thing I heard a long time ago is your greatest asset can be your greatest liability. So if you're a big thinker, you can be too much of a thinker.
For sure.
In boxing, if you're fast, you can be too fast. If you got good footwork, you can move too much. And so just being mindful of what your assets are and, making sure they don't turn into liabilities, keeping those in check.
I'm working on it, bro.
Same.
Man, we're gonna climb out this valley, man. We're gonna talk about another high point in your life, man. You got married to your wonderful wife, Jordan, October 5th, 2019?
Yep. Proposed to her after the Jose fight.
Yeah.
That's how you knew I was confident. This ain't going no
you
other way.
Plan? Yeah, straight. And she's an accomplished journalist, commentator. Like, how did y'all first connect? And how dope is it to have somebody that like actually understands the game?
It's a blessing for sure to have somebody who understands the game. And there's people who understand boxing, but they don't understand what it is to be an athlete.
True.
And she understands boxing, and she knows what it means to be an athlete. Full ride to UNLV to run the 100-meter hurdles on an athletic scholarship. She's all looks. No, I'm just kidding.
Don't do that.
She made like 1B in her whole life.
Yeah.
4.25 GPA.
Oh, she's one of those.
She's one of those. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm the looker. That's all I got is look. Yeah, it means a lot, for have a good teammate. It's one thing to have a wife, have a girlfriend, but when you have a good friend, when you got a good friend rocking with you, rolling with you, that's a good thing. And we met at my Adesanya Rodriguez fight.
Was she working that fight?
No, but she was in town hanging out with some girlfriends or something. And I get I'm in the room, trying to stay off my feet, scrolling, but not trying to scroll too much. And I see some girl like my pictures. I'm like, who is this? I start looking. I'm like, man, who is this right here? She's beautiful, and I like a couple pictures back, and then I'm like, man, if you ever see her, you got to say something to her. And then the very next day, I'm sitting down waiting for him to call my name at the weigh-ins, and I look up, and she's standing on the wall right there. I'm like, whoa. I was just like, man, that's crazy. I'm like, you got to stay focused. Then
we're going through it.
Yeah, I'm being pulled in all different directions. And weigh in, and then she knew I was going to be thirsty, so she went and stood by the water after I stepped off the scale. And she knew that I was going to be there. She wasn't working. She was in there with girlfriends in LA.
She was working.
Yeah, she was working for sure.
She was working.
Praise God. Praise God. And she went and stood on the wall on purpose where she knew I would see her. Then she went and stood by the water because she knew I'd be thirsty. So she's conniving. And she was like, hey, how's it going? We met each other, and, I shook her hand and hit her with a little funny right quick, make her laugh. And I was like, all right, well, it's nice to meet you. Hopefully I see you around sometime. I just bounce. Because I'm like, pretty girl. I'm sure she's used to people asking for her number. I don't want to be that guy. And that's not really my style anyways, I guess. But then a couple hours later, I got a message. Hey, it was nice to meet you. I know.
We got some action.
Yeah, I know it was nice.
We got some action.
And feel like we've been, best friends since, you know. Like I said, it's one thing to have a woman, but to have a good friend, somebody who really looks out for your best interest, you know, and guys and girls, you know, a lot of people want to be liked, but they ain't likable. A lot of girls, they want to be liked, but you ain't fun to hang around. You ain't, I don't like this. Yeah. So Jordan's easy to be around, you know. And when you have someone like that who always got your best interest in mind, you know, you know you're with the right one.
So y'all both forward?
No, I'm more reserved, laid back, quiet. She's like, yeah, he didn't get this on his sandwich. You need to take that off.
Yeah.
I'm like the guy, like, oh, it's okay. It's cool. Don't worry. She's like, no, he make it new.
Well, because she knows so much about the game, is she your worst critic?
There's nothing I love more in my boxing than honesty. Like, that's going to get you where you need. And I do not like when people sugarcoat things to me or just, you know, ass kissing and stuff. And JP, she's not like that.
She gonna keep it real.
She gonna keep it real. And I need that, you know, so I know where I stand. And
so if you have a trash day in sparring, you gonna hear about it?
I don't have too many, but when I do, she loves to let me know about it. Brad and my dad will have her judge my sparring. Yeah. And then, you know, 10-9, 10-9, 10-9. Then add it up at the end of 12 rounds.
Oh, y'all going round by round? That's crazy.
Yeah. So she's judging the rounds, and a couple, I'm like, did you not see what I was doing? Like, you can't be that close. So she's been tough on a couple of scorecards, but we went home and we talked about it. So
that's some like love and basketball type stuff, man.
She's got real respect for fighters, you know, because she knows what it likes. She knows the work that it takes, the sacrifice, and she sees it firsthand, and she helps along with that because she puts in a lot of sacrifice as well, just like your wife, for you to be where you're at. And so that's one thing that I feel like Jordan brings to the ring that maybe not everybody else has as a journalist, and that's firsthand knowing the type of sacrifice and work it takes, and that gives you a new level of respect for the person you're talking to, you know, when you got a mic in your hand. And so, and seeing my sparring every day, seeing my training, hearing Brad, hearing my dad, you know, she's picking up on things and being refreshed a lot more frequently than, you know, maybe someone who's not around the sport so much.
I think that's dope, bro. Yeah. I think that's real dope. You're marching through your career, and then you start getting wind about the Canelo fight. Like, when was the first whispers about that potentially happening?
I actually got called or, you know, offered a fight before that with Canelo. And we never got into like any talks or anything like that about it, but it was like 5 weeks away. And I think that's when Callum Smith took the fight, 5 weeks away.
Okay.
And I didn't want to take the fight. You know, I feel like a lot of people may in that situation because the money's good, but it's not just about the money for me, you know, like, while that's very important and maybe not on your list of reasons why you box, but if you're a boxer, that's probably on the top of the list. Like, we got to get the funds right, you know?
Absolutely.
But I want to win. And if I have a 5 weeks, you know, against, you know, a fighter at his level, you know, of his stature, like, I don't feel like that puts me in a position to be fair with myself. And if I fight, not only do I feel like I'm going to win, but I'm going to fight to win. And so I had turned that down. Then things circled back. And, you know, I'm like, okay, cool. You know, here's a chance to fight for Undisputed against Canelo. It's going to happen in September. It wound up being pushed back to November. Locked in, you know, that's the Super Bowl, fighting for Undisputed. Fighting a big, you know, name like Canelo.
For sure.
It's time to lock in. And I have, honestly, hindsight being 2020, I feel like I probably trained too long for that fight, and then it got pushed back to November. You know, and knowing how I am, you know how I am, training year round, keeping my weight, you know, it may have been a little OD, but I'd rather have a regret, if that is one like that, than feeling like I didn't work hard enough. So, but yeah, start getting whispers and locking in with the team.
That's a conversation that Al called or Lewis?
We both had conversations, all three of us.
I was gonna ask you if you did anything different in that camp. Was the intensity different? Was the regime different?
The regime wasn't really different. You know, just the mental focus and the seriousness of the training. You know, you train year round, but once you get a fight locked in, things pick up, you know. And then for it to be for Undisputed and, you know, a big fight like that, you know, just mentally, just things picking up, locking in, and just wanted to win.
It's so funny, bro. Like, the Canelo's fan base, you hate on Canelo. It's like, how? And you came down to the Bay for a day.
Yeah.
Let them tell it. I was in camp the whole time.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I remember
helping
that.
the plot and it like
Plotting and scheming.
people don't understand. Like I don't get caught up in that stuff, man. Like if I got a brother in the game and he's like, man, can I come holler at you? I'm gonna
Open the door.
I'm gonna open the door and say, bro, come on, like, this is what you gotta do.
Yeah.
But it's just it's stuff is so
because that was my doings. You know, we reached out like, hey, you know, what you think it'd be cool for us to come through to the Bay? Because we may have already been there for something else, and you know, come get some working with you, come get some working with Dre. You know, obviously that's gonna give you some wind at your back. You know, if you feel like you're getting good instruction from people you care about who have been at that high level, and you know, getting wind at your back when it comes to a big fight like that or any big moment. You know, that's. Who wouldn't want that, you know? So.
They be tripping, bro. We had our wives out. We had dinner that night. We went back to the house.
Yeah.
We played pool. You beat me. You beat me on the home table. I got to get that back. But
wait. My mic's cutting out. What'd you say?
Yeah, you got me. You beat me. You beat me on my home table, which is crazy.
And still ain't got his lick back.
Man, still ain't. But I ain't seen you, bro.
I've been ducking.
You been moving,
I've been
bro.
ducking.
I ain't seen you.
Been ducking.
But it's crazy to me, though. That stuff is crazy. Like, that's that, man. The internet is crazy. But so the fight is signed, so delivery, man. Y'all are at the press conference announcing the fight, bro. What was said to Canelo to make him take a swing at you, bro? Did you bait him? Did you say something slick?
One of us, and I really don't know who, was like, yeah, you're going to see soon. You're going to find out. And it may have been me, it may have been him. But then I'll follow up. I'm like, yeah, you're going to find out. You're going to see. You're going to find out. And he's like, you'll see. I said, you're going to find out. You're going to see. And that's when he pushed me. He shoved me real hard. And, you know, if you just standing there, somebody tries to shove you off your feet, you know, that wasn't part of the program, you know? And so I did what I feel like most men would do, fighter or non-fighter. Yeah. You know, I want to get my back. Yeah. And, but.
Wait, did you swing on him or he swung on you?
He tried to shove me. So he shoves me like that. Because when I said, okay, you're going to find out, you're going to see.
Oh, you swung.
Then he shoved me and almost knocked me off my feet. So, you know, my response is to come back, you know, like most men, like most other fighters would do. You know, you can't just shove me off my feet and expect me to stand there. So that's when, you know, things kind of went from there. And, but since, you know, it's been water under the bridge.
So take me to that dressing room, man. It's the week, like, the fight is here. More interviews than you've ever done, more press, more pressure than you've ever had up to this point. What was it like 10 minutes before you getting ready to walk? They say, hey, this your walk time. You hear the crowd. Like, was the pressure tangible?
I mean, I didn't have many fans in the room that night, you know, so it was like 18,000 like boos at the same time. And, you know, I'm standing at the edge of the tunnel and they're all like leaning down, like booing me, you know, this, that, and the third, just screaming. And it was a hostile environment. Like, I don't feel like it got to me like crazy, but it was a hostile environment, more than I had been used to, you know, obviously up until that point. So
how well did you manage that, like walking to that ring?
I feel like I managed it pretty well. Yeah, it wasn't, I don't mind being not liked. You know, that's a position I played for a long time in my life in boxing. You know, people looking at me as an outsider, people looking at me as someone who they don't believe in, they don't feel like can do this, they don't like me. So I played that part more than a few times in my life. So, but I will say that I did feel the hostility. I don't think it didn't crack me or nothing like that, but it was more than I had seen before.
Take me through the first couple rounds. What's working for you? What are you feeling and seeing from him?
First couple rounds, feeling good, boxing well, having, you know, quite a bit of success. You know, I think I've spoken to you before, maybe about something that's happened in the fight, you know, and I don't really want to get into the finer details. You know, at some point, you know, 11th round, you know, he wound up getting to me and hit me with a big shot, hurting me, putting me down. You know, I get up, want to continue. Obviously, I'm looking at the ref like, yeah. You know, he gets to me too quick again, hits me with another big shot, and I duck into an uppercut that I don't even see. And the ref waves it off. And he did the right thing. But obviously, you know, I stand right back up. I'm looking at him like, what are you doing? Like, you know, I want to keep fighting. But he did the right thing. You know, that's just some fighters, that's just their DNA. You
You
know,
gonna
they
do
just
that
want to keep
regardless.
going. They're going to do that regardless.
But that first knockdown, you kind of stumbled to the ring. Were you cognizant? You knew where you were, and your legs just weren't there.
Yeah, no, I knew where I was, but I was just getting my legs up under me.
Yeah.
Ref said fight, and he got to me just a little too quick right after, and I didn't have a
Yeah,
chance.
he ran at you.
Yeah.
He did what he was supposed to do.
Yeah.
He did what he was supposed to do. What was the first exchange you guys had after the fight? Like, what was said? Do you remember?
I mean, I see them videos. I can't remember personally, but
I feel you. I feel you.
just you know, I had said that I'm sad, and you know, probably not my finest moment, but for one, I was concussed and not thinking straight, and two, I was sad. You know, that was me being honest. That's the real Caleb.
Yeah.
You know, that I worked hard for something. I put a lot of work into it. Big camp, put a lot of money into my camp, a lot of sacrifice. You know, my whole life's work coming to one moment, and you know, I don't succeed at it. Obviously, that's going to be disappointing for someone who cares about winning, and who cares about competing. And you know, it slipped through my fingers, and that stings. You know, and so I felt like I let myself down. I felt like at the time, you know, I had let my team down, and so it had me. You know, I wasn't happy about it. I was sad. So
take me back to that 9th round, man.
So yeah, the conversation in the 9th round. After the first round, I'm looking over in between the rests, and he's standing up. He's not taking the stool. Then after the second round, he does it again, and I knew that he had done that to Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. He showed up the whole fight.
Trying to send a message.
He's like, yeah, I'm like, man, he's trying to play me. Like, you must really think, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Midway through the fight or so, maybe a little later, I start looking over. He's sitting on the stool.
Okay.
And to me, if you're gonna stand up, you got to stand up the whole fight.
Way. Yeah.
You can't stand up first 6 rounds and then sit down the next. You know, like you got to stand on that. Yeah. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought. Like you thought it was going to be a cakewalk. You thought it was going to be sweet, and you know, you're finding out that it's more difficult than that. And so in the fight, I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty good, huh? And a lot of people thought that I was really asking him, like, hey, am I good? Yeah. Am I good? But you know, I'm saying sarcastically, like, I'm pretty good, huh?
It did kind of
sound good,
like
huh?
that.
People thought, you know, he was going to whitewash me, and you know, like I wasn't going to have, you know, I was going to have 0 seconds of success in that fight. Yeah. And then when I'm having some success, and you know, things are going my way here and there in the first half of the fight, I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty good, huh? And he's like, yeah, you pretty good, but I'm pretty good too, or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, you pretty good, but just being a smart ass.
That's a cold exchange, though. It's crazy they picked it up.
But I would never really ask somebody like, hey, Dre, do you think I'm a good fighter? I'm pretty good, huh? Like, I'm a world champion.
Yeah.
You know, I'm an Olympic alternate. I'm a Golden Glove national champion. In kickboxing, I got 5 world titles, 9 national titles, like been on Team USA all over the world. Like, I don't need to hear from anybody that I'm good. You know what I'm saying? So
after that fight, you make a switch with your trainer, and you bring in Steven Breadman Edwards from Philly. What was it about him that you liked? What does he bring to the table?
I like Bread because, you know, I had picked his brain over boxing topics before, and I had always liked his answers. I'm a huge fan of Julian Williams. I feel like he's one of the craftiest guys of my era. Hell of a fighter. Got all the tricks, catch and shoot, stick and move, like sit in the pocket. I mean, he can do it all. And so I'm like, man, I knew all the things that I was good at, and I felt like he could kind of help maybe complete my style a little more. Okay. If that's the right word. And I liked I liked how Julian fought. Thought he was sharp and slick, smart, crafty. J-Rock. And I liked the answers that he had given me based off questions I had asked him in the past. And he's a younger coach in comparison to a lot of coaches in boxing. And because of that, I thought that he would be hungry. I thought he would be motivated. Mm-hmm. And thus far, it's been, you know, a great fit, great chemistry. Him and my dad work great together. And, you know, my dad is such a great coach. But on the team, I want someone, I don't want to just know what me and my dad know. I want that extra layer of know-how. And, you know, coming from Philly, training a world champion and a unified world champion and Julian already, like, I felt like he had probably picked up a lot being from Philly, and it's been a great fit.
That's dope, man. And it's even more doper to see your father put aside any ego, any pride, and allow you to run the show like you're doing and say, man, I'm just here to assist. So, I love to see it, and it's rare. But you and Breadman's first fight back was against Anthony Dirrell. That was bad blood. Like, what's the quick version? Like, how did that, like, where did that come from, the issue before the fight?
He just was not a fan of me, I guess. He didn't like me. And
Seemed like he had felt away for a while.
yeah, it seemed like he had felt away for a while. Everything that he had said leading up to the fight in interviews, and he saying he hates me. I'm like, well, that's such a strong word. Like, when you hate somebody, they have power over you. You know what I'm saying? Over your emotions, at least. And, I don't know what it was about me that made him not like me to the level he did, but yeah, he didn't like me. And, after everything, the press conference, and he had shirt with my head cut off and, was planting it in the garden. And he had put the Bernard Hopkins, Joe Calzaghe video up, saying I'll never let a white boy beat me. And I guess after my fight, they had found an old video of him saying, I never lost to a white boy, I'm not about to start now. And
he said that?
They found it old in an interview. They found that after me and him fought, because he was trying to.
Man.
So yeah, they cooked his ass for that. But as far as I'm concerned, that's water under the bridge as well. As long as he feels the same, I'm sure we'll just go our separate ways. But I wanted to make a statement, with everything he had said.
He did, bro. And the gravedigger thing was like disrespectful, right? Like, you put the like.
I had to bury the beef.
That was crazy.
Yeah, I had to bury that.
Man.
Knockout of the year.
Yeah. You did that.
Selly of the year, too.
But you jumped right back in against David Benavidez, bro. Like, why was it important to go, like, right back in with a guy like that? One judge had it 15-13, 112, 116, and then 117, 111. What did you think the fight was? And just walk me through that fight.
You hear a lot of arguments these days, like money or legacy. And, I feel like my dad has always stressed to me that you can get both in one night.
I was going to say, you can get both.
You can get both in one night, because the legacy fights are the big money fights. And I don't want to just, like, say that I'm the best, like, you retired undefeated and you have a great resume. I don't want to say I don't want to be undefeated, but it would be a shame to be undefeated at the end of my career and never really test my skills against the best. Because, it's easy to walk around and say, oh, I'm the best, but did you prove it?
Did you fight somebody?
Did you fight somebody? And when did you fight them? Because that's important too. It's not just enough to beat somebody, but it's when you fought them in their career.
Say that again, bro. When did you fight a name?
When did you fight them? Yeah. I don't want to just talk about it. I want to be about it. I say I want to be the best. And then step back and let me show you. And so that's why I've been taking these fights, back to back to back. And with the David fight, felt good about it. First half of the fight, I felt like I was pretty much having my way for the most part. At the end of the 6th round, he caught me with the left hook to the body, like right on the liver.
Yep.
And it made me take a deep breath. And the bell rang. I started walking away. He walked up to me and said, I heard you. And I go back on the corner, sit down, trying to get myself together, because there's a lot going on in that 1 minute. I've heard you speak on that before as well, controlled chaos. So trying to get my breath together, and 7th round goes on, then the 8th round, as soon as I'm getting over the body shot, I catch a headbutt right here. I got like a scar somewhere. Now the blood's kind of getting in my eye. And so there's times where I'm going to clinch, because I feel like my depth perception is off, my distance is a little off at times, because it's making it blurry, hard to see. So, I'm going for the clinch at times, hindsight being 20/20. Maybe not the best move for David in his style, things that he's good at, things that he's not. When it's hard to see, you just want to get a hold of something so you can know where you're at. Yeah. And just wound up maybe not being the best tactic at that point. But leading up to that point, the first 6 rounds, first 5 rounds for sure were like, I feel like I was having my way.
Yeah. You've been in a ring with both guys, Canelo and Benavidez. If they fought, which I don't think they're going to fight no time soon, who do you think will win?
Man, that's hard to say. I think both have pros and cons. I feel like the things that Canelo does better than David. There's things that David does better than Canelo. In a way, I'm not comparing it to this fight, but it's like the better be of Bivol fight. You can say who you think is going to win, but if one of them, whoever wins, you can't say like, oh man, I'm surprised the Bivol won, or I'm surprised the better be of won. You're like, man, that's a damn good fight. so-and-so won. So kind of how I feel about the David and Canelo fight, like who had the best camp, who has the best game plan, who slept the best the night before. You know, there's a lot of variables that go on into winning the fights. Normally not just one reason you lost or one reason you won, you know, so.
And it's not much that separates guys at that level.
So it'll be hard to say. If David could get on him with his combinations and not give him room to breathe, and, you know, that's probably a night that David gets his hand raised. You know, if Canelo is able to slow the pace down a little bit and catch him with a big shot, David's been dropped before from an off-balance shot. He wasn't really hurt, but, you know, would you be surprised if Canelo stopped him? You know, no. So it's hard to say, but I get asked that a lot.
Man, talk to me about your love of cars real quick.
My dad used to have this little car. He called it the Red Hot, and it was like a little two-door hatchback. The leather was all torn up in there. No AC, no muffler, like rusted holes. Whoa, 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 like pull up. I used to hate when he would pull up in front of my friends to pick me up or drop me off. I'm like, yo, this is crazy. All my friends used to laugh at it.
My pops had one of those.
Called it the Red Hot. And so just like, man, I gotta have a better car than this one day. Like, this thing is great. Me and my dad used to go to the grocery store and we would look at the magazine aisle, and we would look at like Lowrider magazine, all the classic cars and the classic car, muscle car magazines. And I'm like, man, one day I'm gonna have me one of those. Like, Lamborghinis are cool, all that's cool, but I like the muscle cars.
I like them old schools.
Yeah, I like the old schools. And, you know, got to a point in my career where, you know, I was able to get one, and I got the 1964 Impala. Been cruising that up and down the strip, and that's been a good time. Going to all the lowrider shows with the Latino community. You know, they show a lot of love, big boxing fans and stuff. And then I got the 72 Chevelle. It's hard to say, you know, it depends on what mood I'm in. It's like a pair of shoes, you know.
Well, speaking of shoes, bro, tell me about your love of shoes and like how does that stuff and like the collabs. Like I know you love shoes outside the ring, but then it translates to the night of the fight outfits. Yeah. You and the shoe surgeon. Yeah. So just tell me about that, like just the love of shoes and how that stuff translates to the ring.
You know, as a kid, broken record at this point, but like not having nice clothes, not having nice shoes, wanting, you know, some nicer things in life, and fashion is something I've been into since I was a kid, something I liked. And I remember my grandparents would take us to go school shopping every year. And they got me a pair of AIs, a pair of Allen Iversons.
Yeah, it's my guy.
Yeah, that's where like my first sneaker came from, my grandparents buying it for me. And just been growing since then, and felt like it'd be cool to bring that into the boxing ring. And at this point, I feel like the boxing game has changed forever, like as far as the shoes and the fits. And, you know, I feel like I'm might be one of the forefathers on that, you know, who have helped bring that to the forefront. And, you know, I think it's cool to bring things that you're interested in from other walks of life and put it into something else that you love. You know, this last fight I did the Kobe Girl Dads, obviously in honor of, you know, my two daughters and being a dad, and obviously all the motivation that Kobe has given me over the years to, you know, put my best foot forward when it comes to my craft, whether that be on the court, in the ring, or recovery, nutrition, you know, whatever it is. And so, yeah, I feel like it's been making some noise, been doing good.
I mean, just because you didn't have nothing don't mean you know how to dress. There's a lot of dudes that came from nothing.
Oh, yeah.
Then they got something.
Yeah.
They still can't dress.
Yeah.
They still can't put it on. They can't put it together.
Facts. A lot of the clothes are wearing them. You know, they ain't wearing the clothes, so.
I got on Gucci.
All the
design.
design.
You're not wearing it right, though.
Yeah.
I got on Louis, but everything is matching.
There's a super middleweight. He wears nothing but designer. Got more jewelry than Devin, Tank, and, you know, whoever else. They got all designer on them.
See, there you go again.
What?
There you go. We were just talking about that. Last one, bro, I'm gonna get you out of here. You could pick the weight class. You could pick the weight class. You could pick the night, whatever belt's on the line. Given your style, my style, how would you give me my first L?
How would I give Jay his first? Well, it'd have to be for Undisputed. We got all the belts on the line.
I like that.
Where are we fighting at?
And we can do it here.
I think we should do it here. Allegiant Stadium.
We can do Allegiant. Yeah.
Something new. T-Mobile, MGM.
I never got a chance to fight at MGM. So.
Undisputed, we can do MGM then. He don't want me to have, you know, I'll be the A side, but I'll let him have the MGM. You know, he can have that. I'm walking out second. I'm getting called second. Look
boy, my business brain already like, wait, what?
I gotta have all that to beat Dre. Well, he told me beforehand. You gave me a little tip. I don't think I'd be in the mid range with you. I'd either be all the way in, all the way out, not in the mid range. I'd have a hell of a camp, and then the new baby, undisputed.
Man, that thing.
What you think?
I think one thing that would give me a little bit of trouble that I have to make an adjustment with you is the boxing skill, because most of my career I'm used to guys pressuring, trying to apply pressure, but like going after a good boxer, it's not always easy. Like moving my feet and having to cut off the ring, like it's not really my first thing to do. Like my thing is like really like, you know, get out the way, counter, stuff like that. So I think your boxing, that'd be something I have to deal with, bro. I have to deal with. But man, you pretty much broke that down, made that thing sound easy, bro. That's crazy. So you the A side and you gonna die. Oh man.
It was a successful night.
Man, he made that sound too easy. But bro, I appreciate you, man. It's not a lot of easy things in your story to walk through, but you've walked through them, bro, and you've gotten to this point. And but you've also had a lot of high moments too, man. It's not all bad, it's not all tragedy, it's not all trauma. You got that like a lot of us do, but you also have a lot of bright lights in your situation, man. You got a beautiful daughter. You got a wonderful marriage, and you're really an example for a lot of athletes and fighters, man. And I just want to commend you for that and tell you, man, keep doing what you're doing. And because you built what you built, man, you really playing with house money at this point, bro. You don't always have to acknowledge, man, every barking dog that's and I know me and you have talked about this, that's barking, bro. You at a level now in terms of what you've accomplished and what you're still trying to accomplish, still trying to build your legacy, but you've done enough as a man where you don't really have to acknowledge a lot of that stuff, bro. So I just want to drop that there, man.
For sure.
And I tell you, I'm proud of you, bro. Real quick, what's next?
Top of the year, we'll see. Nothing as of in the works yet, but sometime in the top of the year. So I'll be back in the gym next week, taking my month off, and then gonna get back to it and see what's going on the top of the year.
Man, we're gonna enjoy the fruits of our labor, but it's always work to be done. That's another episode of The Art of War. I want to thank Caleb, man. I hope y'all enjoyed this episode. Man, we have real guests on here and we talk about real things, and everybody's story is different. It's not like structured, we crafted questions based on what that life looked like. And that's Caleb Plant's life, man. Man, I appreciate y'all tuning in. We'll see you next time.